Hey there, fitness enthusiasts. Welcome back to another episode of our podcast series where we dive into the fascinating world of health and wellness. Today, we're excited to bring you part 2 of our discussion on Barbara O'Neill, a renowned fitness expert. In this episode, we'll be exploring the intricate workings of the body's elimination systems, a topic that Barbara is particularly passionate about. Our PHI Fitness team has curated a comprehensive guide on the subject, and we can't wait to share it with you. So buckle up, and let's dive into the fascinating world of the body's elimination systems. We're sure you'll find this episode informative and engaging. As always, we're grateful for your support and your interest in our podcast series. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more health and fitness insights. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode.
There are 4 vital elements needed for life. Number 1 is oxygen, number 2 is water, number 3 is sodium, and number 4 is potassium. The last 3 we're going to be looking at later in our series, but today I want to look at oxygen. Let's have a look at the effect of oxygen in the human body. Yesterday, I took you to the cell. I showed you how glucose goes into the cell. Glucose goes into the cell under the action of insulin. Insulin is like the key that unlocks the door to allow glucose into the cell. So glucose comes into the cell, it goes through a 20-step pathway. This 20-step pathway delivers to us 2 units of the big E, energy. The end result of that 20-step pathway is a chemical form of glucose called pyruvate. And pyruvate is the chemical form of glucose that gets fed into the powerhouse. Called the powerhouse because this 8-step pathway delivers to us 36 units of energy. Whoa. And isn't that what everyone wants today? Energy. As I showed you yesterday, this pathway gives us 36 units of energy because it's an aerobic pathway, meaning it uses oxygen. So this is the aerobic pathway. Whereas the 20-step pathway, it's called an anaerobic pathway because it produces energy without oxygen, by the process of fermentation. What a difference oxygen makes. The most powerful way to oxygenate the body is exercise. Such an important subject that I'm going to devote another lecture to exercise. But today I want to look at all the other things that influence oxygen going into our body. First of all, let's make a list of the effects of oxygen on the body. Oxygen vitalizes. Oxygen invigorates. And you can see why when you have a look at these pathways. An incredible difference oxygen makes. Oxygen electrifies. That's how you're going to feel when every cell in your body is running on oxygen. Oxygen does something else too. Oxygen soothes the nerves. And we need nerve soothers. If you could put it into a bottle, you'd make a fortune, wouldn't you? And there is a name given for lack of oxygen in the body. It's called chronic fatigue syndrome. Chronic fatigue syndrome has one cause, and that is lack of oxygen. Now, there may be 100 causes for that lack of oxygen, and some of those we're going to have a look at today. So this is what oxygen does, and you can see why when you look at the energy cycles in the cell. 36 units of energy. But what are the symptoms of lack of oxygen? Medicine calls it hypoxia. Hypoxia basically means lack of oxygen. Fatigue. The person feels like they've climbed a mountain and all they've done is got out of bed. Lethargy, can't even get out of bed. Nausea, not the only cause of nausea, but it is one of the symptoms of hypoxia. Headache, not the only causes of a headache, but it is one of the symptoms of hypoxia. The most severe signs of hypoxia are blue top lip, blue fingertip. You see, when blood goes through the lungs, it picks up oxygen like a little parcel, and it gives the blood a bright red colour. So when the person's lacking oxygen, their blood has actually a bluish colour. That's the blue top lip, that's the blue fingertips. I find that many people I meet today are drifting in the haze that lies between optimum health, they're not actually jumping out of their skin with energy, and sickness. They're not actually bedridden, they're in the middle. How many people, when you ask them today, how are you? How many say, all right, not too bad? What does not too bad mean? Not too good? How many people, when you ask them, how are you, say, fantastic? You'd almost go, what's the matter with him? It's sad, isn't it? And age has got nothing to do. Again, I put the detective hat on. I listened to her story, first of all. She said, I went to the doctor and I told the doctor that I was living in an apartment on the southern side of the apartment building on the bottom floor. She said, I noticed that my leather shoes and my leather belts would often go mouldy, and there were some cupboards and rooms that often had mould in them. I mentioned to the doctor, but he didn't seem to take note in what I was saying to him. She said, I had to stop work. I just had no energy. She said, I was battling this for about a year, and I heard of a doctor in Manly, Sydney, who specialises in chronic fatigue syndrome. She said, the first thing he asked me was, where do I live? I explained my house to him, and he said, you cannot go back to that house. He said, you can't even set foot in that house. She looked at him. He said, maybe if you're well covered and you've got masks on and no contact at all with any part of your skin. See, common sense had told her that. Do you know there's been a death and no one attended the funeral because no one knew he died? It was the death of common sense. I'm surprised, well not really, but I am surprised how many people I meet with chronic fatigue syndrome, and I trace their history back and I find contact with mould. Most people are unaware of how dangerous exposure to mould is. You'll also find positive ions coming out of some heaters. Now, the heaters that are the most dangerous are the heaters that rob the air of oxygen. Now, we have in every house here at Misty Mountain wood fires. You might just see the edge of one just here. It's like a combustion stove. And we love them because it keeps our houses nice and warm. They do rob the air of oxygen. But what we do in the winter, say we have a program starting on Sunday, we light this fire Saturday morning, and you'll notice that our building is big, thick Besser bricks. So by Sunday morning, it's toasty warm, and we're able to close the vents, so now the heater's not robbing the air of oxygen, and yet that nicely maintains the heat. So if you do have one of these heaters in your home, just be mindful that they do rob the air of oxygen. As soon as you're able, bank it down, meaning close the air vent so the air's not being taken, or the oxygen's not being taken out of the room. Always have a little bit of a window open. Have plants in the room. Plants, especially the wide leaves, are able to purify the air. The best heaters are probably your oil heaters in those columns that are warmed up by electricity. So just be mindful of heaters in the home. You can do much to improve the oxygen content of your body by being mindful of the air that you're breathing. There's one thing else that you can be mindful of that will influence the oxygen uptake in your body, and that is hydration. Let me tell you a story. I gave I did a live blood analysis on a 23-year-old girl one day, and her blood was clumped. Her red blood cells were clumped like that. I always presume I've spoiled the slide. It is very easy to spoil a slide. 5 blood slides later, her blood looked like that. I said to her, have you had any water to drink today? It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. She said, I don't drink water. I said, I can tell. I said, I cannot read your blood. It is so clumped. Her mother came in. Her mother was 45. I took her mother's blood, and it looked like this. I said to her, your mother is 22 years older than you, and she has better blood than you. This girl did not want to be at our health retreat. Mind you, by the end of the first day, she grabbed a book and a pen and started writing. She started to get excited about the information she was hearing, and at the end of the week, she said, I wish this was my first day. 10 years later, I talked to her mother, and her mother said she's married with a little baby and she's applying everything she learned at Misty Mountain. But when I did this blood slide, she was not drinking water, she was not interested. It's amazing the difference that knowledge makes, isn't it? Now, when that blood goes through the lungs, how much oxygen is it picking up compared to when this blood goes through the lungs? Can you see the surface area that has been lost purely because of dehydration? One microbiologist said to me, he said, Barbara, We have done research on this, and he said 1 cup of coffee requires 5 cups of water to accommodate for the dehydrating agents in the coffee. Whoa. How many people having coffee or tea instead of water? How many people do we meet today who are always tired? They may not have exposure to mold. They may not have problems with the heater. They could simply be dehydrated. That's easy fixed, isn't it? Now, the good news is that this girl, if she started drinking water, and the best way to hydrate the body is little by little by little over the day, by the end of the day, I could look at her blood and it could look like this. Dehydration is easy fixed. Another way that a person can limit the amount of oxygen going into their body is by the way they breathe. Our body was designed so that the abdominal muscles are used in the breathing process. I don't know if you're familiar with Andre Procelli. He's a blind Italian opera singer, amazing voice. And I saw a video once of him in concert, and he's standing like this. You see, when you learn to sing, your teacher teaches you how to breathe with your abdominal muscles, because you cannot hold the note, you cannot get the tone. Obviously with Andre, there's a little bit of training there, but sometimes he'll sing a note and you think, how can he go much further? And he'll go up onto a higher note and go a little bit longer. Yes, that is training, but he has trained not only his chest and throat, but mainly his abdominal muscles. So our abdominal muscles must be used in the breathing process. Many times that is not possible because of posture. So hunching like this, it's impossible to use your abdominal muscles. Tight clothes around the waist inhibits the abdominal muscles being able to breathe. So there are some of the things that can influence the oxygen uptake in our blood. Our body was not only designed to use chest, but abdomen. And when someone is just a high chest breather, they can actually be losing out on gaseous exchange at the bottom of the lungs. So be very mindful of the way that you're breathing, because that absolutely can influence the oxygen uptake in your body. And this is why I suggest that everyone do Pilates exercises. When I say Pilates, I mention Pilates because it's well acknowledged that those group of exercises are designed to strengthen the core. And the core of the body is like the hub of a wheel. And your core muscles in your abdomen are all connected to your spine. In fact, you have one muscle called transverse abdominis, and it starts at your spine, connects with your hip and rib on either side, and then back to spine. And when you do core strengthening exercises, which Pilates targets, then when your muscles here are strengthened, it automatically pulls your spine straight. So part of your exercise program, ideally even 5 days a week, should be some core strengthening exercise that will help your spine to be stronger and straighter, and then it will be easier to use your abdominal muscles in the breathing process.
Hey there, folks.
Sunshine.
We've come to the end of our exciting
law number
journey
2.
Exploring the body's
The sun is
elimination
not
system.
the enemy
We
in
hope
the
you
sky.
found this series informative and engaging. Presented by Barbara O'Neill, compliments of PHI Fitness team. Remember, taking care of your body is crucial for your overall health and well-being. We'd like to extend our heartfelt thanks to all of you for joining us on this journey. Your support and feedback mean the world to us. If you enjoyed this series, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Stay tuned for more fascinating health and wellness content. Until next time, take care of your body and keep learning and growing. Join us in the next lecture as we continue to look at the body's elimination system. Cheers.